Hey, I'm Cesar.
Hey, I'm Carla.
Welcome to another episode of Carla and Cesar's Modern Life.
Episode number 16.
16. That's right. So this is 4 months in a row, right? Because, yeah, if you go by 4 months, 4 weeks in a month, yeah, it's 4 straight months of us delivering. We started on Valentine's Day, so I guess it's almost 4 months. But, yeah, we're here for another one. And before we move on, I always got to tell you to follow us at I am Cesar Rod. And where can they follow you?
At Carla La Rod 89.
Yep, and then subscribe to us if you're watching this for the first time, or if you're just you don't subscribe, you should, because that helps us on the number side.
The show's really good.
Yeah, exactly.
Cesar puts a lot of work into it.
Both of us do.
It's a lot of fun to put together, and we just want to get better at it. So the more you support us, the more we can put more effort into it.
Yeah. And we already put a lot of effort into it, and
Yeah.
we're trying to build it to do more things and stuff.
So
yeah,
I wasn't trying to say we don't already put into it.
It feels good though. It does feel good to keep going when you're people are like supporting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So Carla and Cesar.com. That's where it'll take you straight to the channel, or you just click the buttons. If you're watching on YouTube already. So before we move on though to our usual like life updates about ourselves, this past week between us recording the past episode and now, there was a shooting in Texas, and there was 18 people passed away. It was at elementary school, so I would say everything except for 2 of them were kids, and they were teachers. And it's always really sad to see that, because it's just so frustrating. That there just is a cycle that keeps going. And
the way things are, like it's like tough because nothing's gonna come out of it. They're not really gonna make changes.
Yeah, and it's tough. It's tough to say that out loud, but it's like it's really the truth. It's like it's not that people don't want to. It's not like everybody's like,
yeah, exactly.
People are gonna try, and like we can try what we want to do, but at the end of the day, the lawmakers, like they have too much interest in keeping it the way it is. So it sucks that it's not gonna change.
And
it's
just really sad because so many lives were cut short, way too short.
And yeah, and that's the thing. It's like people want to say like don't politicize it, but it goes hand in hand. Like it's so sad that these families, they had to go through what they did, and it's really fucked up, because there's no words to even it's not fair, and that's the thing, is you think about that and you think about how frustrated it is that it could happen tomorrow, it could happen next week, to anybody at any point, a supermarket, the movie theater.
Really scary.
It's fucked up. Like, it's fucked up that we have to go to the movie theater, and like I am the person that overthinks everything, but it's reasonable for me to be like, all right, let me check out to see if there's anybody weird looking in this crowd. And there has been. Like, I don't want to be that person, but there was a motherfucking dude years ago with a giant duffel bag walking around the movie theater, and nobody did anything about it. And luckily nothing happened, but it's like, come on, guys. Like, and it's just scary. Like, it's scary to live in that reality, but we're not unique, us as United States citizens,
Right.
But we also want to discuss how it's also like hard to think, like, when we've had this conversation before about having children, like where like I want to bring a kid to this world, like right,
yeah, it's really hard to not be pessimistic. Like, I don't want to be a pessimist. Like, I know, like, it's not good for me to think this way, but it's like it's hard to see a different way when it's all
yeah, it's all you see on TV is like everywhere's a danger, like, and it's true. Like, I have to have my guard up, but imagine if I had to take care of somebody, like a kid that was with me all the time too. Like, I mean, definitely life changes when you have a kid, and your perspective changes, but at the same time, like, it is all about making sure that they're safe. And you can't really guarantee that in America. Not anywhere, but I mean, especially here, because it's the only place that it happens.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I mean, so just we needed to mention that, because it's the reality, and it's not like we're not gonna have a debate here about gun laws, because we know how we feel, and it's not gonna change. That stuff needs to change, but we also are not gonna let this go by without acknowledging that it's sad and fucked up. Yeah. So moving on to what's going on in our lives, we had a few events happen during the week for us. So I'll start on my side here. So on Tuesday, I got to accomplish something that I had been, looking forward to for a while, which was recording the Rodriguez show. It was at FTG. The idea had always been at FTG, but honestly, my idea was just like to record it somewhere different and see if we can.
What's FTG for anyone who doesn't know?
Oh, Find the Good is a venue. It's a small, like a warehouse venue in Santa Ana. So people can book it to record their like music because it's padded for sound. But we hold events there for the show, and people hold events that are local artists. So it's like a big warehouse space where people can go and like perform music, or they can go record music, which is really cool too. Because not everybody has the ability to do both. So we rented out FTG as for a few hours as our studio for the show. Like, not because we couldn't use the Hits 101's radio studio, just because we wanted to try something different in terms of visuals. Yeah. And so I had been planning it for a while, and our idea is we started with a simple setup that we know. So we had a pretty big rapper in Orange County and in Southern California, Sage Won the Wise. And we decided to start with somebody like the setup that we know in terms of like, just one person performing, and it's just them performing to a track, which turned out really, really well. Yeah. But the plan is to continue to have bigger, like more people, because sometimes the studio it's hard to interview like a 4 or 5 person band. Yeah. And for them to perform is like even bigger of a challenge. So we're trying to book like groups in that space too. So hopefully once a month we're going to be there, and we're going to be bringing some great content. And the goal is for us to have our own studio
where you can do that setup all the time.
Yeah. And for us too, I think it'll benefit both. Like,
that's true.
It won't. I mean, if it's a studio that I own, it'll be we're going to record our show there too. Yeah. So it's a chance to like take this content to the next level. And I don't want to get too into it because I'm not the kind of person that likes to tell like all the details about what's coming up. But it is cool to have something to work towards, which is to have our own space. You know, so that's really cool. Yeah. So that was,
and just like that event, like you'd been thinking about that for a while, and then you like worked your way towards making that happen, and then you did. Yeah. And now you can do the same with
the having our own space. Yeah, I think so, and I think it's gonna take some time, but honestly, like, it's one of those things where I don't hesitate when it comes to.
It's only a matter of time, I think.
Yeah, and it's also I don't overthink it. That's what I want to say. Like, it's just a choice that I'm like, yeah, for sure, I'm gonna do this. Like,
nice.
I'm working towards it.
That's a good feeling because, like, you're sure about it.
Yeah, and so when stuff like that happens, obviously, I did talk about that on the Amigas podcast. That was when I thought about marrying you, and it was like a no-brainer. So I like to follow that feeling of just a no-brainer. Like, yeah, you feel like you should do it. Yeah. So that's something that I'm working towards, and I'm excited about. But another thing happening this week that is a really big deal this coming Friday is my 30th birthday.
Oh shit!
Yep. Yeah. So June 3rd, I turned 30, and
how do you feel about that?
Good. Yeah, I felt good. I felt good about it since I decided to, since I left my other job, because I was like, okay, now like I'm starting clean. Like, this is the slate that I wanted to start fresh.
Nice.
So even if I don't accomplish anything big, which I already did, I feel like I already accomplished something before turning 30. So like, I'm just excited to celebrate my birthday. Like the feeling of like, oh, I'm getting old. I'm like, well, we're all getting old. I just feel like it is like we're all getting old slowly. So what difference does it make? But
so it's not like you're not having a crisis about turning 30. I don't understand people having crises about it.
No, I do want to say that I do want to give it the weight that it is. It is a big deal turning 30.
Oh, it is, yeah.
But it also is like I'm not freaked out about getting old. Like the idea of getting old. But
I actually really like the idea of getting old. Like, I hope I have the privilege to get old.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I do, and then I don't. I mean, I'm not gonna like live a life where like I'm gonna die young on purpose or anything. But I'm like, I don't want to get to that point where I don't want to rely on anybody ever.
That part would be really sad. I would not like that.
I talked to my friends about it the other day, and I was like, well, and then I thought about it. I'm like, well, I don't know. I mean, I've always thought of myself as like, at some point I'm gonna get rich, so I'm just gonna pay people to take care of me. Because like my friends were saying that they're like, well, don't you worry about like. Not that they were trying to pressure me to have kids, just the idea of having kids. Like, one of my friends was like, oh, I just don't want to, die by myself. Like, I just want somebody to be there when I pass away. And I'm like, yeah. And then I thought about, like, I never really thought about having kids for that reason, or like not wanting to die alone, because we're going to be together. But at the idea of like, oh, well, I didn't really need somebody there when I die, because I'm probably going to have a nurse or something, because I'm going to be rich at that point.
Oh my God.
Like, Because I think the point is to, I don't know, like you want to be, I don't know how I want to die. Like if it's like at the end of, like I guess spoiler alert for This Is Us. But if you're like, if it's like you've lived your life and you're in that point where you're passing away, like
Yeah.
you lived your life fully, and it's like you just feel happy. I want to get to the point where I feel happy that I'm passing away at that time, because I feel like, okay, my job is done.
Yeah.
You know, and so I don't really feel like I need somebody there, because I feel like I'm gonna feel satisfied in everything I've accomplished. So it's just like turning 30 is the next step. When I get to 90 or 100, where I'm gonna pass away by natural causes, like that'll be just the next step, and I'll accept it. You know.
I see.
Yeah, and I think that's not pessimistic, the opposite, optimistic way of thinking about it, because it's like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be sad about dying alone. I'm gonna be happy that I've accomplished a lot. Where it's like, okay, now it's time for the next phase. But I mean, you know, it's not perfect.
But maybe you say that because you're not alone.
Yeah, no, I understand that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a different feeling, and I know that I am in a lucky position. We're in a lucky position to have found each other, and I don't take that for granted. And it's hard to see it the other way sometimes. It's hard to think like, oh, what if I was alone right now? Because it's like, well, my life for the last, you know, however since we were together, like you've always been a part of it, so I really can't picture it any other way. So, so I mean, and yeah, I guess.
But I see what people mean by that, like not wanting to die alone. Yeah, because I think a lot of people not rely on, but like have kids. Like, I mean, at least back in the day, people had kids in order for them to like
be taken care of.
Yeah. At least in like the way I was brought up, like I think that was the idea, was that like you have kids so that they can take care of you when you're old, right? Because like my grandparents, like the family took care of them, and so I think that that's like expected, but at the same time, like I don't think it should be like I don't know, like it shouldn't be like a default, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you shouldn't have to rely on your you know, kids to take care of you. Like I think that mindset, and you know, shout out to my friend that told me that. Like I don't think he was thinking about it like that either.
No, yeah.
But speaking on that subject, it is true that some people are like, my kid's gonna buy me a house, and it's like, that's great if it does happen, but it shouldn't be an expectation.
Yeah.
And a lot of kids, luckily, I don't think either of us grew up with our parents like that.
Yeah.
But a lot of people do. They grow up with that pressure, and it's like, I get it. I get why people like crack when they're like in school trying to get that degree, because it's like my parents expect me to take care of them. I need to get a good job. I need to get all this shit. So I am lucky that I didn't grow up with that pressure.
Yeah.
Wow, I never thought of it that way.
Yeah. I don't feel like my parents expect it, but I feel like I want to give them that. Like, yeah, I want to be able to like help them out, you know? And so I feel like it's hard to see them struggle and not be able to like help them out. You know what I mean? Yeah.
But I think, go ahead.
But that's not pressure that they're putting on me. So I think that's when it's different.
Yeah.
Today I was at work, and this parent was like, I rang up. It was a family, like the mom and dad, and then like 2 boys, I think. And I asked them if they needed bags for their things, and then the guy was like, no, said that his kids were gonna carry them. And he's like, that's the only reason I had kids. And I was like, obviously he's joking, but that's like not very nice to your kids. Like,
that's true.
I just hoped, I saw the kids when he said it, and they're just kind of like doing their own thing. But I was like, I hope that they haven't had like to internalize something like that.
They talked about it on Brown Bag, where they're like, don't you hate when your parents, they call you into the room just to turn off the light? And then you get mad and they're like, pues pa qué te tuve? And it's like,
that's
the fuck?
Messed up.
Like, you're gonna be useless then?
Yeah.
Basically, the people that speak Spanish, they're implying that they're useless unless they like do these tasks.
Yeah, like I had you for this very reason.
Yeah. Like, what the heck?
It's messed up.
Yeah. So that was pretty much my update. I didn't want to touch on the fact that we said we were going to record a reaction to This Is Us, but honestly, the reaction, we should have talked about the episode before, because that was the big. I mean, we don't want to spoil it either, but it was the episode with the big like climax, and then this was just kind of like the epilogue.
Yeah.
So us doing a discussion, it just didn't seem right, because it was just like. It was like the ending of a story. There was a quiet ending as opposed to like, oh shit, what happened?
Yeah, which was kind of nice, because I don't think I could have handled it.
Yeah.
Being left off on a sad note.
Because the show, perfect. For people that have never seen it, it's a show that it's a family drama that would make us cry every single episode, basically. And so what they did for the, not going to spoil it or anything. So what they did for the final episodes is they gave you that big hit like before the last episode. So then you would just be like, oh, okay, so it had a nice ending, quiet, as opposed to like, here's the one that's going to, and I read an article and that's what they were going for.
Nice.
They wanted to like give you like a peaceful ending as opposed to another cry
They
fest.
had to.
They had
after
to. They
7 years, they owed it to us after making me cry every single Tuesday. Not every single Tuesday, wait. When it was on.
Yeah. So shout out to This Is Us.
Such a good show. Oh my God.
We're definitely going to miss it.
Yeah.
We're going to miss Randall's character. And
the whole family.
Randall's family and then Jack and Rebecca, but the rest of the kids.
Even Rebecca sometimes.
Rebecca.
We could have done without her selfishness.
If we could have just done the Jack and Randall show, it would have been
William.
fun with us. And William, yeah, I was saying, so his life.
Yeah.
They should just make a spin-off, like we said, that it just continues with his family because they know who we care about.
That's so funny.
And they try to deny it too. The writers are like, no, we didn't want to make the last episode so Randall focused. Yeah, right. Good luck. Like, you know what we want.
They were the best part.
Yeah. So what about you? You did some things too, right?
Yeah, I did. I went to improv.
Mm-hmm. How was that?
It was fine. I didn't get to participate. I was hoping to participate. I almost didn't go. I was looking for every excuse to not go because I started getting anxious about it. Mm-hmm. But I was like, I can't not go because I talked about it on the show. And so if I don't go, so this is good for me because it keeps me accountable.
Yeah.
So like you were saying, you were talking about something you were excited about, but it's good because then like you'll have to update us on it. I think it was studio. The warehouse. The studio. Yeah. So that was my thing this week. I didn't end up making it on time to participate just because there is like a max of like 18 people or something. And by the time I got there were already people before me that were on the wait list. So I'm going to keep trying. I actually was glad that I didn't participate on this one because there's a different teacher every week. And this week, the person leading it had a different style than the first guy, obviously. But this guy focused a lot on like animals for whatever reason. That's just like the theme that he went with, which was fine. But while I was sitting there, because I sat in the audience for part of the time, I was like trying to think of like what I would say or like what I would come up with. And it was really hard. But it's good to think about for if I ever am in that
with that instructor or whatever.
Yeah. But I don't know how you're supposed to watch improv. Like, are you just like, I guess since I'm there to learn, it's okay to be doing that, right? Like, I don't know if there is a proper way to watch improv.
No, I don't think so. I think you're just learning how to like keep the rhythm, I think. Right? Like I don't know anything about improv, but from what I've seen, and you know, I've definitely like seen some things about it. Like I watched movies that are about people that do improv and stuff, and it's just, and I think the way it is just like you being able to keep up and like keeping your mind fresh to those things. And I don't know how do you practice that? How do you practice coming up with scenarios and coming up with stuff on the fly in your head? Like
I think it's like just trying to be present and like staying focused, like in the moment, and like. That's what somebody told me. Somebody was like, do you meditate? And I said, yes. And he's like, do you meditate with your eyes open or closed? And they said to meditate with my eyes open because that's basically what improv is.
Yeah. I mean, and it's like in a way, like we do in our own like sense of humor that we have with each other, we do kind of improvise where we come up with somebody's story and then we just add to it. So it's just a matter of taking that, you know, that mentality, those skills, and applying them to a more specific situation that you're not coming up with, which is tough, I could say. But it's true. Sometimes we'll think of like, what if they did this shit? And then we start cracking up.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it is, I think. I completely took it over. But you're saying so when you do try, though, you're going to improv. I mean, when you do participate in the class, which will be soon, you're going to update us on that, right?
Yes. For sure. What else? I finally posted my last flight attendant vlog on my YouTube channel, which I don't know how we can link it, but we'll link it, right?
Yeah, you can do one of those little boxes.
Yeah, we'll link it.
Even in the description, it'll be linked.
Yeah. It was a big deal for me to finish finally editing it because I recorded the audio twice because I did it once and I didn't like it. And so decided to start over. And it turned out much better. I feel like I said everything I wanted to say. And just watch it. And it's concise. I feel like it's not too much like.
No, I thought it was it really gets your point across. And you do say like in your own thing, like, hey, like, this is just my experience. Like, I'm not saying this is how everybody's going to go through it.
Yeah. I do feel a sense of relief because I've had that in the back of my mind. And when I was seeing my life coach, it was something that we had on my list of things that I knew I needed to work on and kept putting it off. Yeah, it made me miss flying a little bit, but at the same time, I don't know, like it just felt bittersweet, I guess. And if anything, I just didn't realize how much I would miss like going to different places. Yeah. But that's really the only thing, because I think about like how I used to like not work out and like not eat right, and so I feel like I've gained more than what I gave up. Yeah. So I'm listening to this book, to wake the sleeping self, to wake the sleeping self, to shake the sleeping self. And it's about this guy that went on a bike ride from like Oregon to Patagonia, and on a bike. Did I say that? Yeah. A bike ride. And he basically talks about his journey. But one of the things he said was that like leading up to it, because I thought about quitting for a long time. And then, so he said that he like built it up, like hyped it up in his head. And like once he was in it, he was like miserable. And he was like, why did I think this was a good idea? Like I have those days sometimes where I'm like, why did I quit? Like, like why I like hyped it up so much in my head. Like I was going to like finally get to do the things that I wanted to do. And now that I'm in it, it's like, oh shit, did I make a mistake? But it's like he talks about how that's where the growth happens, and that's where you like learn about yourself. And like now it's like, okay, I did the thing that I thought was going to be like the thing that was going to make me happy, and I'm still not there. So like, what is it? And it's like, I can't run away from it, because it's like I'm making changes, and I feel like these are necessary changes, because it's like, I feel like the more you do that, the closer you get to what it is that, like that place of like finding peace with yourself and like realizing that it's not external, So it's like, it's unfortunate that I did have to like quit my job, because I did invest so much time in it. But at the same time, it's like hard to be mad at it, because it's like there was no way out. And I couldn't have come to this realization if I had stayed in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense, but it's like a big circle to say that I posted my video. So please watch it.
All right. So check out the blog on Carla's page. We'll post a link to that in the description, and you can watch the video. But now it's finally time to get to the scenarios. These are your problems that we found online that we're going to discuss them. And we'll start. You're going to start, right? Go ahead.
Okay, so a 23-year-old female fiance, a 25-year-old male, is a foodie and is extremely particular about a few things, one of them being coffee. We use a manual grinder, get distilled water, because the water in our area is hard and according to him affects the taste, but I don't notice anything. And we have an AeroPress and a metal coffee filter to make coffee. I'm very much not a foodie. My fiance makes his coffee a very specific way. On the other hand, I usually wing it and use regular tap water, and I eyeball the measurements. And you know what? It's fine. It tastes fine. It makes me happy. The end.
The problem is that it really bothers my fiance. We've had multiple arguments about me making coffee wrong, and it's very normal for him to badger me to make my coffee the way he does. If I'm making the coffee for him, sure, I'll measure the beans and all that jazz, because I know he can taste the difference. But I don't think that I should have to jump through all these hoops for something that doesn't affect him. On the other hand, he seems to be really bothered by this. Today, as I was trying to scoop coffee beans into the grinder, he reached around me to put the scale. he used in front of me and asked me to please weigh my coffee beans. I was really frustrated because we've had this conversation so many times, so I snapped the word no to him, and he walked away and muttered, "You too," and saying that even though I hadn't said it, I definitely had been thinking, "Fuck you." For the record, I wasn't thinking that. So am I the asshole for not making my coffee the way my fiance thinks I should, and for snapping at him when he gets pushy about it? What do you think?
I don't think you're an asshole, because you should be able to make your coffee the way you want.
Yeah.
Like, why does it matter? Like, he's not drinking it.
Yeah.
He makes his coffee the way he wants. Like, what's the problem? I don't get it.
Yeah, no, it's funny because I didn't really, like, it is like a classic case of somebody wanting to control everything, but at the same time, like, I get it, because having learned how to make this, it's not easy, and it does make a difference, but it's like, who cares if she's making it for herself, though?
Yeah.
Like, for him, I get why he'd want to drink it a certain way, and even then, like, if your big thing is coffee, like, get a better hobbies. But because it's like, geez, like, to most people, they make coffee and then they're like scientists that knows how to do other shit, not just, I know how to make this coffee really well.
Yeah.
So I don't think it should matter.
I don't agree. I feel like if you're all about your coffee, you should be all about your coffee, but don't be an asshole about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because, like, it's not like she's telling you how to make your coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it just sounds like a control issue. And it sounds like if he's trying to control how you make coffee, like, he's more than likely trying to control other things in your life, and you should pay attention to that. Because nobody needs that in their lives.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's just a jerk that wants you to be making it, and he took it really personally, even though it was just about coffee. When you said no, and he's like, "But you thought, fuck you."
Yeah.
Just relax, man.
But it's like, what can she say at this point? If they've had multiple arguments about it already, what is she going to say to change his mind?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. It's just coffee.
Yeah. So, yeah, you're not the asshole.
Yeah, you're not. And just, you should evaluate whether, you want to be with that person or not.
Yeah.
So uptight about some coffee.
Yeah, seriously, look at other parts of your relationship and see if that's going on anywhere, because people out here are trying it.
Yeah. True. All right, moving on to the next one here. My husband and I have been married for 6 years. We still don't have kids. We want them, but it's still not happening. My friends and family are causing us constant stress about having a baby soon, but it's obviously something we can't control. We only wish they stopped, but to no avail. So what I did was I came up with this idea. Stupid, I know, but I have an empty jar and I call it the pregnancy jar. I carry it with me in a bag whenever I'm with friends and family, and every time somebody asks me about when my husband and I are going to have a baby, I pull my jar out and ask them to drop $1 in there for saying it. I get puzzled looks, but they reach out of their pocket, wallets, purses, pull out $1 and put it inside the jar. It actually works because most of them stopped asking after 4 months.
4 months? Really? It took that long? Last week, we had dinner at his parents' house. My brother came back from his business trip that lasted a month, and while we were eating, he asked me when me and my husband were going to have a kid. My husband paused. I got up from the chair and made my way to where my brother was sitting with my jar in hand and asked him to drop $1 for the question he asked. He stared at me, then laughed nervously, asking if I was being serious. Everyone was looking at us. He said no, and he didn't have to pay me, but I told him he didn't have to ask either. So here we are. I could tell he felt embarrassed. He immediately reached out to his pocket, pulled out his wallet, and put $1 in the jar. I made my way back to my seat and sat down and resumed eating like nothing happened. It got awkward afterwards. My mom pulled me into the kitchen later to tell me that I embarrassed my brother in front of his wife and family, and said I should quit acting childish by running around with a jar, demanding others to put money in it. I told her they should quit asking then. She went on about how they're just worried for us since we're in our mid-30s and don't have much time left if we want at least one healthy baby. I got upset and she started arguing. My husband and I left and we haven't seen them in days, except I got a call from my sister basically siding with my mom and the others saying I'm being childish.
Wow.
Dang. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah,
I'm
I
gonna
think
start
so too.
carrying it around a jar too. Just kidding. No, people don't ask me that much.
They've asked you recently though.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's a good idea because we don't have to do that, but I'm saying
it is a good idea because, geez,
people don't
it
need to
would
ask.
get old.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so weird to me that like what you're asking, yes, are you gonna have a baby? But what you're also asking is, hey, you having sex without a condom? Like, why do you need to know? Like, you know?
Yeah. Y'all fucking?
Yeah, basically, like, it's such an intimate detail, and just because you're not using the word sex, you're basically asking me about my sex life. Like,
I guess we had thought about it that way, but in a joking way. But you're right, it does kind of.
Or like when people say like we're trying for a baby, like it's the same thing, right? Like, good for you for mentioning that, but you are telling us you're raw dogging it. Like, I don't need to know. I all credit. I have heard that as a stand-up joke. That's why I thought of that. But it is funny.
That's funny. Yeah, I think that's hilarious because it's like she's literally carrying around a jar. That's so funny, but it's worth the effort. Like, it's clearly making them some money, so good for them.
And obviously for them, it's not about the money. It's about just putting people in their place.
Yeah.
You don't have to give me $1. Just like, I don't have to tell you if I'm having a baby or not, or when I'm gonna have a baby.
Yeah. And like, for anybody to not see where she's coming from, like if she's gone out of her way to do this for so long, like, why can't her parents be supportive and be like, oh, like, I see this must like actually like really bother you because like you're going through all this effort.
Yeah.
But
I don't understand the whole brother thing. Like, how, like, what is it about, like?
Yeah, like,
why is it embarrassing? It was a joke. Like,
and why are you more worried about his feelings than hers?
Yeah.
It's fucked up.
It's just so weird. Like we've talked about before, like people pressuring other people to have kids, like especially like the family too. It's like tough because it's like you don't know what situation they're in. Like, they even said like they're trying, so it's not like hey, they're actively against it. Just leave them alone.
Yeah.
So yeah, not a jerk for carrying out a pregnancy jar. I think more people should do that we should phase out of society asking people when they're gonna have kids.
Yeah.
You want me to start with the last one?
Sure.
My late best friend and I knew each other since we were little. We were next door neighbors and always played together. We went to the same kindergarten, primary school, and middle school/high school together. One day during our sophomore year, we started talking about how most of our friends had started dating. We obviously weren't okay with that and decided to get a one-up on all of them by getting married. As a joke, I made her a fate ring and she gave me her real scrunchie. A few weeks later, a drunk driver hits her. She sustained multiple injuries and was in the ICU for 2 months. The doctor told her family that her survival chances are slim. In the only time I talked to her before she died, she made me promise to always visit her on our wedding anniversary and wear her scrunchie during the visit.
4 years ago, when I started dating my girlfriend, I told her about it and asked if she was okay with it. She commented about how sweet and nice the tradition was and told me she was perfectly fine with it. Today was the 10th anniversary and I took the day off before my girlfriend went to work. She told me it's time to put this tradition to rest and move on because it was starting to get pathetic that I still wear a dead girl scrunchie to celebrate a fake marriage that we had 10 years ago. I was furious by the comments because she wasn't just a dead girl. She was my best friend and like a sister to me. We grew up and did everything together. I told my girlfriend a long time ago that we never had a sexual or romantic relationship and that our wedding was just a joke. It's not like I talk about her or keep her photos around the house or anything similar. The only times I've talked about her to my girlfriend is when I told her if she was okay with the tradition or if she asked me about her. When I told her that I'll keep honoring my best friend's dying wish, even if it made her uncomfortable, she left for work angry at me and hasn't come back home yet.
Damn.
Dang.
So, what do you think?
I don't know. I feel like it might be another control issue.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, I think it's an insecurity. But it's crazy that they've been dating for 4 years and it still bothered her because it's like, hey, in the 4 years that you've been with this guy, like, is he giving you the amount of attention that you would deserve normally, like for a person that's, somebody that's like, like that. And as long as he's just celebrating one day a year, honoring it, not even celebrating, honoring her, his best friend that passed away. And he was saying not even a romantic thing.
And like, how does it affect her?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like it's only because of the fact that it was somebody that wasn't his relative. Because if he said it's my sister or my brother, then I feel like nobody would even think twice about it, right?
Yeah. Maybe the fact that they called it a wedding.
Yeah.
Anniversary, but
and that's the thing is like let's make this a little bit more mature, right? Into a little more of a gray area situation that I'm interested to know. So let's say like he was married 10 years ago, and once a year he honors the passing of his spouse by doing that. And how long would you expect somebody to do that, even if they find somebody new? I don't know. I mean, I guess I can't really transfer that feeling, but I feel like, I mean, because it's dying, somebody passing away, like it's the end of a relationship, but it's never the actual end, because you're always going to keep somebody of that person like with you.
They stay with you, yeah.
Yeah, and then I wonder, like with friends and everything, like obviously you're going to keep a part of them forever. But what about like spouses? Like you still want to honor who they were, who they were to you, but you know eventually you're going to start living your life, you know, again. So would that make somebody uncomfortable, do you think? Like if you were in that situation, what would you do?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I feel like I don't think it would bother me.
Yeah.
But again, like I can only imagine. Yeah. Just because I feel like say if it were you.
Yeah.
I feel like you're my best friend. Like I feel like I only want you to do like what's best for you, because like I feel not that like even if you weren't my best friend, I feel like I would still want you to like live your life fully. And if that includes continuing this tradition, then you have to support that, you know?
Yeah.
It's like if it's just part of, at this point it's part of like who he is, you know? It's like it's 10 years, like
yeah, and that's what it is.
It was important enough, you know? Like he said, it was like his sister, and so it's like
yeah.
I
get what you're saying, and then it's true, and I would say even in the hypothetical that I put up, like if it was a romantic thing, like let's say it was like same story, but they did date for a while.
Yeah,
I think that's still fair, because it was somebody that made an impact in his life.
Yeah,
and it's not like he's stuck in love with that person, but he can always love that person.
Exactly, and especially because I feel like every person that you do date, like, or just any relationship in your life, like shapes you, who like it take, you know, like in part it shape you to who you are now. So it's like she maybe has that friend to think, or even if it was a romantic relationship, they would have that person to thank for helping this person be who they are.
Yeah, and I think that's true, and I think that it is kind of weird, like, you know, it depending on the situation, obviously the relationships you were in and stuff like that, but like the people that you dated it for a long time in your life, they made an impact, and you know, a healthy person in the future, like you would look back and be like, you know, that was a good time in my life. Like obviously I'm in a different place now, but it's why would you look back and be like, oh, I have to erase that, you know? So but it's also like it takes a very secure person to know like where they're at, and that they want to, you know, honor them in that certain way, and they can separate the idea of like, okay, I'm not in love with them anymore, but I do care about them in a certain way, and so it is hard for, I would say, in this guy's situation, his girlfriend, to think about that, because it's a security thing, like you have to feel secure, but at the same time it's also 4 years in. It's not like 1 year she's like, hey, what are you doing, like this is weird. 4 years in, like there's something wrong there, because
why is it a problem?
And maybe it always bothered her, but now she's like, okay, after 10 years you need to stop. And it's like, well, then why were you fake from the beginning? Why
did you say it was okay if it wasn't?
And if it was, like, how would he have reacted? Maybe,
right? If anything, it's a deal breaker. Not so much like if it's significant enough, he's been doing it for 10 years, like it should be a deal breaker at this point with the girlfriend, don't you think? Like,
if she's saying choose this or me, it's like, well, girl, like this is a special thing that's not supposed to, like, somebody, to this guy, like he should know that somebody's going to accept that, like he doesn't have to deal with somebody's insecurity like that, you know? And I think that's fair. I mean, I think it's weird. It sucks that it had to happen 4 years in, if that is like the real life consequences, that they break up. But it's like, hey, it had to happen at some point, because you have to see this person's not for you if they're
somebody will respect that.
For sure. Because that's true. It was like a sister that passed away, and that's okay to want to honor that. And even more so, it wouldn't degrade it if it was a romantic relationship either.
No.
That's the point I was trying to make, I guess.
I agree, yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, we had some good ones this week. That was a good discussion, I think. That was a really interesting ones.
Yeah, they were fun to talk about.
Yeah. All right, guys. Remember to subscribe, like we say every time. Remember to follow us on social media. You can follow me at I am Cesar Rod.
You can follow me on Carla Rod 89 or Plant Parenthood OC.
Yep.
On Instagram.
Yeah, on Instagram, and you can get support and help for your plants. And you can follow The Rodriguez Show, which is my other show, at The Rodriguez Show on Instagram, and then patreon.com/The Rodriguez Show. We just started editing together the podcast version, just like we do this video, which is like half an hour. And that's been kind of easier than having to scroll through like 5 or 6 segments that you have to like break apart.
Good.
So that's something you can check out on YouTube as well. And also, if you have not followed the channel, we don't just do this podcast, we also do reactions and we do food reviews. So go to carlaandcesar.com, and it's Carla with a C, and then my name's Cesar, and you can follow the channel and you can get the podcast and all the other videos too.
Yeah, what he said.
I forgot to talk about that. All right, that's it for this week. Remember to take care of yourself and each other.
Thanks for watching. Bye.